Sherry, Tracy, and everybody, welcome, welcome. I'm your DJ. I'm your host for the. Oh no, sorry, I'm the like. All I want to let you know is, Sherry, you can start the recording right now, and you can take it off. My job is done. Music and energy is here.
Yeah, already ahead of you. It's on.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We've got an exciting webinar on revenue operation in the age of artificial intelligence, and we are thrilled to have you guys join us today. Now, let's start off. Imagine a world where every interaction with your customers is perfectly tailored, where your sales, marketing, customer success teams all of a sudden work in a harmony, and where your data-driven decisions lead to unprecedented revenue growth, right? Now, this is still a distant dream. We're not going to present this to you today, right? But you will see how artificial intelligence will get us closer to that day and faster than what we can imagine. Our goal for this webinar is simple and yes, ambitious, right? At the end of the session, you will have clear understanding of how artificial intelligence is going to reshape or is currently reshaping revenue operations. You'll come up with practical applications you can implement in your organization tomorrow. Now,
I love it. Let's get it started because like I know historically that this is a challenge, right? Like and just to provide some. Roy, do we have any governance in our industry, what we can and cannot do with AI?
No.
Okay.
Basically, we, even at Winning by Design, like we're being very cautious with this.
Okay. And is there a lot of money to gain if people do this right? So if people use AI and are they going to make lots of money with it?
The first one who cracks down, and we'll show a few cases that we are still far ahead. The first companies that will able to basically master that will be ahead of the market.
Okay,
so that gap is going to close really fast. Like the first one will be there, yeah, but everybody at some point, everybody will have the same capabilities, I'm assuming.
So if I add the two combined, if I say there's incredible financial gain for people and there's no governance in it, what could go wrong?
Yeah. Everything, right? Cool. All right. Well, we'll talk about some of that today. So just to introduce myself, my name is Roy Altuve. I'm a revenue architect at Winning by Design. Jaco here, founder of Winning by Design, and Charlie from CS2. CS2 is a revenue operation agency from the Bay Area, and they help growth, revenue growth architecture for growth stage and B2B companies. Now, I met Charlie a few weeks ago. He posted a video on LinkedIn, which really blew my mind. And, I reached out to him and said, like, hey, let's talk, right? And that's the outcome of our discussion. Now, let's get comfortable and get you comfortable interacting with us. So I'm going to have you guys launch a quick poll question for you guys. And I want you to start using, like, how are you guys? Have you guys started to use AI, played around with it? We just want to understand, like, who's the audience that we're talking to today? All right, coming in. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, and I will share the results so you can see that.
Yeah, we see it.
Interesting. All right, so this is what we've got. We've got a packed agenda for you. A lot of real-world examples. We're going to start off laying the playing field and talk about RevOps, just to make sure that we're all on the same playing field. Now, we're going to jump into a few use cases, and the way it's going to work, I'm going to present the use case, why it's important, why is it challenging, and Charlie will then take over and show you how we were able to fix that, or at least try to address that using ChatGPT. We're going to talk about customer segmentation and targeting, lead scoring, personalized messaging, and analytics and insights from RevOps data. We're going to then summarize and finalize with future use cases and final thoughts. Now, feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar. Use the chat feature, and one of us will pick it up. Yeah, sit back, relax, and let's get started. All right. Now, to make sure that we're on the same page, let's start off and discuss why revenue operation matters, right? At its core, revenue operation is all about aligning the different teams, whether it's sales, marketing, customer success. We want these teams to work in harmony towards one common goal, which is driving revenue growth. This alignment streamlines processes, reduces internal friction, and enables the team to focus on driving revenue together. Now, revenue operation relies heavily on data analytics. We all know that, right? But by providing and integrating data from the various sources and tools, we can provide a comprehensive view of the entire customer journey, right? As SaaS companies grow, their operations become more complex, and RevOps helps create that scalable processes and the streams to handle the increasing workloads and demands, right? At the end of the day, revenue aims to optimize the entire revenue generation process, and the more mature companies are focusing on streamlining the workflows, identifying the bottlenecks, all of that to create more efficiency and profitability, which is really a trending topic right now. So this is why we want to use RevOps. I'm assuming that I did not say anything that you guys did not know. But why? What are the challenges that we see when we work with our clients? What are the common challenges? So first of all, departments, right? Sales, marketing, customer success often operate in silos, which means that they measure things differently. They have different tools, and in a lot of cases, they have different objectives, right? With that comes the different tools. So you have different tools that do not talk to each other, which adds to the complexity, which makes the data integration part even more complex. Specifically, RevOps, the people on the team require a blend of technical, analytical capabilities, but also go-to-market understanding and that strategic thinking. Now, finding and developing talented with the right skill set can be quite difficult. And of course, it's time and resources constraint. That's all obvious. Now, let's dive into the first use case. We're going to show how we can harness the potential of AI in creating customer segmentation and targeting. All right, so why is it important for us to target? And we all know that identifying the perfect fit to your products can be a game changer. And if you don't do that, targeting the wrong targets is very expensive. Like having your resources chase the wrong targets, that costs you a lot of money. And besides that, having your resources spend time on the wrong targets also takes them away from focusing on the right targets. So they're actually spending time either the wrong targets or the wrong customers. And all of this dramatically affects the metrics, which demoralizes the teams, right? Because they're not hitting the quota, and the customers complain, and there's a lot of complexity around that, and that's the problem that we see. But on the flip side, once you find that ICP and that is established, the entire team can target the same accounts, use the same language, which creates that unified process that we're thinking of. So if that is so important, and we probably all know this, then why the number one recommendation we at Winning by Design give our clients is to recreate and revisit the ICPs and persona, right? And what we find is companies usually define ICP once, very early on, and never revisit this, right? In early stages, you try to sell to multiple personas, multiple ICPs until you find that product market fit, right? And you don't go back and change that, which results in the fact that the different reps don't really know their ICPs. We work with companies, we ask the reps, so what is your ICP? They tell us. In a lot of cases, it's not precisely the ICP. They know the titles, but they don't know the impact, their challenges, know them intimately. Creating ICP requires a lot of research and it's time consuming. And it'll require, if you want to do it right, you want to look and talk to your existing customers and build ICPs based on that. But again, that's time consuming. And there's the classical question, who owns this? Marketing, sales, RevOps. That's usually the case, and finger pointing that. Now it's time to get to the real deal. Like, get ready to take a thrilling ride and see this in action. So Charlie, over to you.
Yes. Okay. So here's a bit of an outline what I'll take everyone through right now. We're going to be using ChatGPT for this. So first off, we're going to go through and kind of prime the AI, give it some context and try and give some customer examples to help it understand how, and kind of give it some information to be able to give us some details around the ICP. Then start to create some account criteria, then dig into it that more, really get ChatGPT to propose to us some ICP details and then the reasoning behind those ICP details. Start to align some tactics to the different tiers in a tiered ICP strategy. And then we're going to use the winning by design model spiced to start to break down the ICP by that framework. And I'd love to get the winning by design feedback on how good of a job ChatGPT does on that. And then we're going to develop a hero's journey. So I'm going to dive right in. So bear with us. Sometimes, as you know, this is experimental technology here in some ways. So we can give it a shot here and make sure that if we can pivot if we have to. So I have some prepared prompts. If it does kind of go sideways, I can always go and show you something that we prepared earlier. But here I'm going to bring this in to kick us off. So as it kind of reads this, I'm going to explain a bit about what we have here. So I want to start off with some context. So first off, giving the persona, the actual ChatGPT a persona to act like. So a marketing and sales consultant for B2B tech companies focusing on building out an ICP strategy from scratch. I wanted to add in here, offer interesting and non-obvious ideas to help optimize this strategy. I also want to come up with a fake product because in my experimentation, ChatGPT has been really good at kind of expanding on and coming up with ideas relevant to the product and pain points without me having to feed it too much information. So the product that we've come up with is an application that tracks a bow tie funnel for B2B tech companies. It integrates with Salesforce and common marketing automation platforms. It captures each stage, is able to get the data on volume, conversion, velocity through the funnel, and it's really useful for sales leaders and to build revenue plans. We've got some customers, say we're a startup, we've sold to some tech companies, so I've given some of the best customers here. And then I like to, at the end there, respond with just understood, because sometimes ChatGPT can be a bit wordy just when we get off the ground here. So one little caveat here is, and I always like to say this, just be careful, if you are experimenting with this, the chat interface of ChatGPT can use your data to train their models. So I wouldn't go in and just throw all of your real customer data into ChatGPT like this. I'm waiting for the winning by design ICP generator AI to come out, and maybe you can use that to work on this. But for now, this is for illustrative purposes, so we can just explore the capabilities of AI. So now we've got the beginning context here. I want some help to define some information around my target accounts. And what I like generally when I've been testing a lot of this is it's really good for people that don't know where to start, right? I mean, maybe a lot of people on this call understand how to go through ICPs, they understand the spiced framework, or maybe they don't. So for people that are really getting off the ground, maybe a pretty early stage startup that's founder-led, that's trying to get some information around their ICPs and document this, it's a really good way to get over that writer's block and get a really good starting point. So at the beginning here, I've just asked, just to break this down, give me some ideas about how we should be thinking about our ICP. So it's given me back industry, technology-based companies. That was obvious, obviously, given the accounts that we had. Size. So it picked up on the fact that the size of our clients were between 3,000 and 18,000 employees. And obviously the reasoning there is that they're so far the best fit companies. It called out the fact that we obviously want to be targeting companies that are using Salesforce, B2B companies, because they have a more complex sales cycle, which would benefit from our applications tracking, companies with established sales and marketing teams, and they're looking to optimize their funnel and optimize the reporting they're getting. So I think a good start here, and if anyone from the Winning by Design team wants to jump in and give some critique on this, please do. So next step. Now, what I love about ChatGPT specifically is the ability to kind of get a lot of ideas and be able to get at scale different ideas and keep on testing those ideas, get it broken down into different formats, get the reasoning behind it. And like I said, really getting you off that starting point, going from like 0. It's not necessarily even 0 to 1. It's more like 0 to 7, and maybe you can optimize to 10. So here,
Charlie, speaking of going 0 to 60, you're going super fast. I'm getting a hit in the chat that people would be interested to see you copy paste what you're putting in ChatGPT into the chat so people can follow along or train their own system to it. But then also you kind of asked for like, hey, does WBD want to jump in? And then I saw Jocko, like a little slow on it, but like
go for it.
He came on off mute, so he wants to add real quick. So sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, I didn't notice.
Love what you're saying.
No,
it's just going super fast.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you invite me and give me the microphone, I will take it. The point in this is like what I want to notice that what you see down here, and it's an observation, is this is what we would refer to as static or situational data. Industry, size, CRM. These are all very things that you could find on LinkedIn or something like that, right? And although that is fantastic for an ICP, what we're going to see and the development in the future, which we cannot achieve yet, is next one is pain, which you see some of activity already. But the third degree of ICP is where we are really becoming relevant on the impact that they want, not the company that they are, not the size who they are, but what do they need really to help their business? And this would be an assumption based on their trajectory of the company and some form. And AI will help us with that as well. With that said, any questions from the audience on this for people attending this? Any thoughts? I want to make sure that for those of you folks, if you're not on the chat right now, you're missing out because I already picked up something and I'll give you a practical insight. I pointed out when Charlie said that the data that you enter will be absorbed by ChatGPT. Drew Williams immediately responded with giving tips and tricks on how you can avoid that happens by clicking on the 3 dots. So check on the chat and be in the chat because I see there's lots of active conversation there. With that, either back to Dan or back to Charlie, whoever picks the microphone first.
Yeah, I can definitely share all these prompts. And apologies for going through fast. I've got 7 minutes to go through this one. We've got others to go through. So I'm trying to get through it all. But to Jocko's point there, you mentioned impact, and that's where we're going to be getting ChatGPT to give us more of the spiced framework. So I'll be curious to get definitely your perspective once we get to that step. So on this next step, so we wanted to try and get a bit of a tiered strategy, some more of an ABM strategy where we're aligning a certain amount of accounts to different account tiers and then getting the different firmographic details that have been built out in the previous step aligned to those different tiers. So we have a tiered strategy, build this out in a table with account tier, number of accounts in tier, the firmographic details for each tier, and then the reasoning. And the reasoning part, this is what I love about LLMs, the fact that it can give you its reasoning behind this. So not just kind of spit out an output, but actually explain why it gave you the output. So once we get down here, we have different tiers, a certain amount of accounts per salesperson. Obviously, it's arguable, should tier 3 only be 10, etc. But like I said, you could reprompt it and say, actually, I want to have more volume for maybe my tier 3 account. And it's broken this down by company size, and then some of the other variables that we mentioned. Also, there's giving its own caveats here, rough estimates. You could even adjust just the account. So sometimes it even critiques its own work, which is quite nice. So I'm going to go to the next step here. This is where we want to now align some of these tactics. And after this, we'll get to spiced for the personas. So I'll pause on this prompt because it does move down quite quickly. So give me an outline of the different tactics I should consider for each tier of accounts. Add the list of tactics to the table you created for the tiered strategy. So we're just appending another column now, aligned to the account tier. Give me some ideas on what should be the type of tactics that I should align to my different tiers. In my testing of this, I really like the way that without having to provide a framework or some more information around how they should align these tiers. Obviously, we want to be aligning the more expensive tiers to the higher accounts that have the highest revenue potential, the best fit. And it does do a decent job of that. So account-based marketing campaigns, more personalized outreach as an example. And then, but down at the bottom, automated nurturing, email campaigns, and just generalized marketing. And this actually output, I've seen some maybe a little bit more built out outputs in the past. So sometimes it kind of might change its mind or give you different outputs depending on the day. But I think as a good starting point to just get some general ICP information to have the more tiered strategy for ABM, it's not bad. So before we move on to spiced and personas, does anyone want to jump in and I can dig into the chat here?
Yeah, Charlie, I think we're good. Let's go to the spiced. I'm excited to show them spiced or teach ChatGPT spiced framework.
And this is the thing. I mean, this is ChatGPT. This is an ICP creation with Winning by Design's framework AI, right? So once we do have more kind of developed AIs for specific use cases, you could imagine the output is going to be much more improved than what we're seeing now. But just for more of a general AI that is solving millions of use cases every single day, its output is a pretty good starting point, especially for people who may not have done this before, right? Some people that really just need to get things off the ground. So moving on to the personas. So we're teaching ChatGPT about spiced, and now we want to get a couple of personas in a table using the spiced framework. So this is where I definitely want some Winning by Design people to critique this and tell me if this is any good.
Jaco, over to you. Impact.
This is the first I see this, so I just want to make sure that everybody knows that this is the first time I see this. Okay,
so the marketing director is struggling to track and optimize performance of their marketing initiatives across the sales funnel, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for, so for people to understand what I'm looking at, I'm looking for static data in situation. I'm looking for pain points, something that my solution is built for under pain. I'm checking at the impact. The impact needs to be something that is not directly product related or solution related, but is an outcome of that. So your application can provide a granular tracking. That's right. Yeah. That is right. That is right. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. Most people have impact say, well, point to some feature. The critical event is the most difficult one. That is the hardest to find. Most people use discount to create a critical event. So if we can overcome that, the marketing director is under pressure to demonstrate improved marketing performance within the next quarter. That gives a date. Yeah, that's fantastic. They need a solution that can be implemented quickly and start delivering insights immediately. Okay, quickly is a term that I want to know what that is, but that's pretty solid. Decision I leave for another time, but yeah, this is good, really good. I appreciate it. Yeah. Where did you pull this from?
We just
where did I pull this from?
Spiced. Look at how we taught them spiced. Now imagine we take our big blueprint of spiced and how we teach our students to do spiced and teach ChatGPT. It will be much more accurate.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, the ability to get a lot of you know, I don't know how much people have kind of researched how you can kind of train ChatGPT or other AIs on your data by like uploading a lot of PDFs and other data and being able to actually then get the output that's far more kind of specific to the data that you've trained it upon. But yeah, this is us just literally giving a bullet point per section. And it sounds like the output's pretty good. So imagine if you were, you gave it, 25 to 100 pages of content to be able to train on, that would therefore give even more optimal result.
Look, the
last part.
Hang on, this is the problem. I want to point out in here. A basic metric that we found across 58,000 of our sales opportunities that we are monitoring over the past 6 months. 58,000 of them say that those sellers, and sellers I mean marketing, sales, and customer success, the whole GTM function, those sellers that can talk to impact on average across 58,000 opportunities generate 1.53x more sales. The reason why they are unable to do that is because this is missing. If AI can help us establish what you're telling me, that through this data, you can help me establish what the impact is a customer, and I can feed that back to marketing and say, hey, put that on your website, put it into your outbound email messages and in your nurturing campaign. And I tell the salespeople, sell on this particular impact that they want, and so on and so forth. I can go all the way down the line, 1.53x sales revenues generated out of the same amount of opportunities. Simply because you can do that. Critical event is another skill. Like I said, most people cannot get that. And as a result, what most companies are doing, because they do not know what a critical event is of a customer, they start to drop the increased discount to create a critical event. Again, you can increase the revenue by lowering the cost, by talking about what the critical event is to the customer, not the discount level, and the impact. Few points.
Yeah, and to your point there, and we're actually going to show this a little bit on the next demo, is that not only is AI able to help us kind of define and document our strategy, but then it's also able to help us operationalize that strategy. So using AI in certain workflows like sales email copy creation, where you've trained the AI on the spiced framework and the specific critical events and impact that you can create for different personas. So therefore, when someone comes into your database and they're a persona and they only get these emails already built by AI that's totally trained on the specific persona information that you have. And to be able to scale that, for sales teams where you've got 50, 100 more people, how are you ensuring that the messaging going out is always going to be aligned to what you need for persona by persona, unless you literally build every email sequence for them. So both of those options are pretty tough, right? You either have to build every sequence, spend a ton of time, or you have to trust them to be able to, sorry, someone's calling me. I thought I put this all on airplane mode. Or you have to make sure that, everyone is trained and enabled, and therefore to be able to actually deliver on the promise that you're trying to deliver on when it comes to the persona-based messaging. So we've got the example coming up in a minute. The last part on this is the hero's journey. So definitely interested to get your perspective here as well. So we're just asking for a compelling hero's journey in 3 parts for our first persona, which is our marketing director over here. And go through the situation, pain, end framework. Again, winning by design framework, where we've given a little bit of information, not a ton.
Now, just to jump in here, just to put the context, what is a hero's journey, right? And a hero's journey is like, in many cases, you need to share a customer story. And the customer story is the hero's journey. So how do you properly share a customer story? So that there's a structure to it that not one person can repeat that story, but 3 or 5 or 10 or 20 people, hundreds of salespeople, whatever it is, everybody has the correct customer story. In order to create and simplify that, customer stories, according to Winning by Design blueprints, are divided in these 3 things. If what I'm seeing right, Charlie, you now connected Spice to the customer story, and now this is a customer story that we want a seller or a SDR, sales development rep, or a customer success rep to tell the customer, right? Okay, so what we're seeing down here, the customer story, the customer journey goes to the following. I depict the situation. Luke Skywalker was born on the planet, blah, blah, blah. I dedicate the pain of some pain that he experienced. Oh my gosh, my uncle and aunt were killed by stormtroopers. And I then show the impact, the end of the story. I found the lightsaber and saved the universe, right? That's the very short version of what I call a man in the hole. Sorry for the gender identification, but man in the hole storyboard. Take us through what's happening down here, Charlie.
So we have Evan, the marketing director, a mid-sized tech company faced with an increasingly complex marketing landscape. She has an established team, range of tools at her disposal, including Salesforce. However, she struggles to piece together the data to make data-driven decisions. You know, I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that. Workdays are filled with navigating through multiple systems, compiling reports, and striving to identify where leads getting stuck in the funnel. Is that personal enough for you?
Yeah, Charlie, this is an active chat window right now, right?
Yep.
Can you ask it to summarize it so a 10-year-old could, a 10th grader understand it, or a 6th grader?
Oh, Jocko, this is like a first level kind of prompt. Of course it can.
I know, but I want to see how that thing comes out to.
Spyglasses for company.
Yeah, because this really, yeah, like it's still slightly too. No, this is getting there. Yeah.
Well, let me jump in while it's creating it for us. Like one thing that Roy, you blew my mind on recently was not only can it make the story better, but you can score it. And so if you use this as a coaching technique, you can add a rubric and say, of those 3 things, situation, pain, and then the impact at the end, how well did it score on, you know, and then you give basically 3 options: approaching expectations, meets expectations, or exceeds expectations. And then the coolest thing that ChatGPT did that Roy just showed me is that like you score it. Let's say this story gets a 10 out of 15. And then Roy was like, all right, now make this story a 15 out of 15. And then like you get a super awesome story. But then even better, you ask it, what did it change and why? And then give you the analysis behind it. So then you can learn from it. You'd be like, oh, you made it shorter. You use this power language instead of that one. You made the customer the hero instead of the company the hero. This is like blowing my mind on like how we can all become better coaches for our team, because it's not enough just to give them the playbook, but it's like constant reinforcement that you need. And now you have a tool that's not like my opinion, like I'm giving you direct feedback. It's like, here's what we agree the scorecard is, and here's a third party that can share it in a way that gets like behavior change at scale. So love seeing all of the different ways that we could start using this.
Yeah, so I just added that here. Score your hero's journey out of 5 and give me 3 more ideas on how to improve. So it actually gave itself a 4 out of 5, and using some more vivid language, include other characters, more specific examples with some ways that you could improve. So then you could say, okay, improve it by these 3 ways, and then now you get your V2. And again, I love that. You can get to like V10 in 10 minutes without, you know, with very little lift, and keep on optimizing it and prompting it in the great direction.
All right, Charlie, let's move on. We have
moving on to the next one. Yep.
All right, now let's talk about another exciting use cases, and we actually 2. We're going to combine them in 2. So we will start off with the lead scoring. Let's have ChatGPT do this for us automatically. So what is lead scoring? It's a process of prioritizing the leads based on relevance, potential to buy, potential value, and many other factors that we can plug in there, right? You want to allocate your resources efficiently. You want to put maybe your best BDRs or sellers on the high scores. You want to put more attention on them. You want to personalize interaction based on the scoring. And you also want to target that marketing efforts to those top leading scores or leads. Once you do that, you can also segment leads into different categories to create that customized marketing campaigns and sales strategies. And of course, once you have a robust lead scoring process, you can create that better alignment between marketing and sales, which is the biggest challenge that we constantly see, right? Sales teams often complain about the quality and the quantity of the leads provided by the marketing team. They feel that marketing is not delivering high enough quality leads. On the other hand, marketing always complains that marketing are not following fast enough or not following those leads at all. And because it's complex and time consuming, that lead scoring process is considered like a black box, except for the person who designed that. Nobody else knows how that lead scoring takes place up until ChatGPT. So before Charlie takes over, I want to share the other part, which is personalizing. Wait, let's move to the next one. Let's hyper personalize messaging. So once we score the different leads, we can create hyper personalized messaging automatically. I know some of you have already tested this out. This is the classical use case of ChatGPT, help us create those personalized messages. But let's see how we can do that automatically. Now, I don't think I need to mention this, but let's quickly go over this. Tailoring messages to the individual ensures that the receiving content is aligned with their specific needs and interests, and increases the chances of them opening and engaging with us, which creates a better customer experience. They feel that they are being addressed personally, and results in trust and credibility, which fosters long-term relationships. And of course, in a crowded market that all of us get anywhere between 10 to 20 to 30 different inboxes, inbound messaging, whether it's on LinkedIn and mails, this is our competitive advantage. The companies that do this well and will do this well using AI will have that competitive advantage. Again, until everybody will be able to do that, because we know how fast this technology is being adopted. The reason that when we work with companies, most of us do this awfully wrong is because we focus on volumes. We pressure the BDRs to produce more leads or marketing. And when we focus on volume and not quality, of course, we get bad results. Usually BDRs, if we're talking about outbound messaging specifically, they're entry-level position, and we don't train them. We don't put the resources in order to train them, which again, because it's an entry-level position, there's a high turnover. So it only makes it worse. Of course, when we do want to do good personalization, it requires resource intensive. It's resource intensive. And when you don't do this right, you're burning through your total addressable market. And again, it's not really scalable because we need to spend a lot of time researching and crafting the right messages. Charlie, over to you.
Okay, so yeah, we're combining these two different use cases into one. And I'm going to jump into Zapier. It doesn't have to be Zapier to be able to, experiment with this yourself. You could use other automation tools like Workato, Tray, etc. But for ease of implementation, we chose Zapier. And we're going to show how we can integrate AI into a specific automation, especially around lead scoring and content generation using the ChatGPT API. And then show how actually, instead of in the past being able to have complex webs of automation throughout your marketing automation, CRM, and other integration tools, you can now just use natural language to complete specific tasks a lot faster than before. And then show the reasoning, allow what I talked about earlier. I love how LLMs can show you their reasoning about why they've given a certain output. So a lot of the time, sales, they complain about the leads coming to them in a certain score because it's just a score and no reason behind it, and then they don't trust it, and then every lead that comes through, they don't trust the score. Whereas now we can actually show and write up a description of why that lead was scored that way. And then we'll go into the content creation, and then making sure that content is aligned with messaging guidelines in the same automation. So I'm going to jump over to Zapier just to give you a general, of course, logged me out. Okay, to give you a general overview of what we have in here. So like I said, there's so many different ways that you could build this. There's so many different ways that you could integrate AI into certain workflows. So really, I feel like just the limit is your imagination with this. There's just so many different things. And a lot of the actual integration tools out there, like the Synchronys of the world and Workato, Tray, they're actually building specific nodes of being able to use AI in automation. So kind of keep an eye on that. I think it's an exciting development. But for this one, like I said, we're doing the lead scoring use case. So we're going to show how we can create a new record in Salesforce. We're going to send the data to ChatGPT. Obviously, this is all just example data. So we're going to send the company, the website, industry, number of employees, and title, just some basic information on scoring. Remember this, you could build this out 10 times more complicated than this. We're just trying to illustrate the abilities here. And then we're sending this instruction. So you're a predictive lead scoring engine for B2B tech companies that scores leads based on their propensity to buy and their fit as a potential customer. And again, I know I've had some comments in the chat about the prompts here. We can share these prompts afterwards. We're selling a technology product that tracks the B2B funnel. And then we've just given some information about the best fit customers. So when you build lead scoring, if you're in Marketo or HubSpot or whatever, you've got to go through every different field, every different variable within the fields, and then have different automation to say, okay, if it's this, then score that. If it's this, score that. And it's a very time-consuming process. Most of it's pretty arbitrary what scores you give it. And you're generally just like kind of spending a lot of time first aligning on all of the scores and then building all of the automation. Whereas this, we're just using one step to get all of the information that we need to understand fit and then output a score. So the output, and this is again like some of the really cool functionality with ChatGPT, is being able to format your output. So we're going to get a list of 4 bullet points. The first one's going to be a score. The other 3 are going to be the 3 different reasons for that score. Then we're going to ask it to take the lead source information, and I've got an example that we just had this is actually a different example here, but someone went to a CRO dinner, and then some messaging guidelines in here. So very basic messaging guidelines in here, like I've talked about earlier. Obviously, you could build this out, far more robust process and far more robust guidelines here, but we've got some general guidelines aligned to the different personas. And then I want to get an email back to be able to email this person. We're going to format some of the data. We're going to update the lead in Salesforce. Instead of actually sending an email, I'm just going to send myself a Slack message with the email copy so we can see the copy. And then I can keep it all in the window here. So I've got that ready over here. So let's
Charlie,
test it out.
Just to make a point here, you make it like an outbound style message. This could be equally applied to an onboarding message, to a customer success message, it could be applied to any. We're just applying it to the most common field. Just want everybody to realize a CSM asking for feedback on product could be equal. It could be a very similar application.
Totally, yeah. And then you even can kind of expand that into, actual chatbots on your website, being able to respond to certain messages without having to have a human in there, trained on all of your customer success data, and be able to then give the right response. So for sure, I mean, that's why I said kind of your imagination is the limit here. There's so many different use cases. And the other thing that I like to bring up here, I mean, you look at Outreach, you look at SalesLoft, you look at Gong, they're all releasing AI-enabled sales engagement technology where the emails are going to be written by AI in those platforms. So, you might not even have to use ChatGPT, or even now, you could just use the tools that you already have to be able to scale and get the AI generated content. So I'm just going to add in here some of the information. We have a lead from Snowflake coming in, and then I'm going to save that. This is where we might have a little bit of a delay while we're waiting for the lead to jump in. And it looks like we've got a poll.
Place to stay on Airbnb, you had to exchange.
Oh, it looks like someone's got some sound coming through there. Okay. So do you want to kick off this poll?
Is that for me?
Oh, it looks like someone just put a poll up. There wasn't.
I did. Sorry.
Oh, you did. Okay.
This is where it usually takes time. So just asking.
Yeah.
All right. If you want me to, I'll finish it. No problem. Share the results later.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay. Okay, still taking time. Do you want to show the results of that poll while we're waiting for?
Yeah. So mixed lead scoring. mixed answers here. Some don't, some do fully. I'm assuming it's mostly related to the maturity of the company, right? More mature companies have more resources to implement this process, which is more time consuming.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a quarter for all of those.
Yeah.
This should be, all right, here we go. So we have the score and the score reasoning. So obviously, this is a high fit account for us. So we gave a score of 95 out of 100. The lead is from a well-known B2B tech company, Snowflake, which aligns perfectly with our ICP. The title of the lead is CRO, which is a senior position with a high influence on purchasing decisions, thus increasing the score. The company has over 1,000 employees, which is better fit for our product. So obviously, this was a pretty relatively easy one, very much aligned with the ICP and persona. I could show an example of one that isn't, but in the interest of time, I think we need to move on so we can get to the data analysis one. But I just love the fact that we could write out the reasoning here. Like if you were to try and set this up to be able to give a reason for a certain score based on all of the variables that you're using in lead scoring, you would have to have like the paragraph times 10,000 paragraphs for every different combination of variables. So it would literally be impossible. And there are other tools out there, like I think Mad Kudu, that is releasing kind of this reasoning capability behind their score, which I think has always been the biggest issue for me with lead scoring, especially when AI is involved with scoring. I'm going to jump into Zapier here and find my message. So this is today, just come through now. And again, obviously this is just sending it to me in Slack so we can have a look at the copy. But it's taken first the fact that, the person went to this CRO dinner in Austin, kind of little, breaking the ice here on asking if it was insightful. We're talking about facing the challenges, accurately forecasting sales and revenue due to lack of visibility in the sales funnel. This is a common issue. So, I mean, sales emails, it's debatable. People probably have a lot of opinions on kind of how good this sales email is and how you could optimize it. But just the ability to get an on-message by persona message in seconds based on the lead information, I think is the real unlock here. And then once the tools that we're already using today, like all of the sales engagement tools that are releasing this functionality, start to like really accelerate this, you can just see how this is going to be a massive unlock, and the role of sales is going to change, especially around when they're communicating digitally. So I think it's just a really powerful use case and something really to keep an eye on.
Cool. Thanks, Charlie.
So do you want to jump back to the...
Yeah, so in the interest of time, we'll keep the next example use case for the follow-up webinar, right? If this was a successful one, we could do another one. We have a bit more example. So I'm controlling it. So let's skip this one. We have some predictive analytics, which is pretty cool. But again, we'll leave it for next time. So we just scraped the surface of what we can achieve with the AI. And additional use cases that Charlie and I started to play with, we're still not there. Some will take a bit more time, but just for us to spark the imagination, right? So pricing optimization. Every early stage company struggles with this. Can we improve this process with AI? Can we help provide better pricing guidance? Proposal creation. We all know that salespeople always complain that they spend a lot of time crafting the proposals. They're never really personalized. They never really focused on impact. Can we ask ChatGPT to create a personalized impact-based proposal for us to do that 80%, and we just take that last 20% effort? Sales forecasting, of course, we're all struggling with that. Not only can we do sales forecasting based on previous data and success rates that we had, but also let's incorporate external variables like what's happening in the market, the industries, etc. Can we do better churn prediction and retention? Not only basing that on product usage, but other things. Can we incorporate external variable news events that are happening in the market to help us understand and predict better the churn. Now, the last two are game changers. So personal culture, there are some companies that do that. All I've seen was offline. So they give you scores and recommendation what to do better next time. It's usually past, like after that. Imagine that we could tell a rep what is the best next question that they can ask that increases the probability to progress the deal, the call, whatever it is. Can we do that real time? Can we actually dictate what is the right next discussion point? So that's the first thing. And the second thing, whoever solves this, Jocko, you asked me in the beginning, whoever solves this, sorry, it's the tailored sales process. Can we create a process based on the characteristic of the account of the company, the personality of the prospect? What do we hear at each meeting? Can we build a personalized sales process? If we solve that, that will be the best example out there, right? But this is a bit more complicated. So these are the future use cases that we're thinking of. And in terms of final thoughts to leave you with. So data quality and integration, your results are only as good as your data. We won't solve that. ChatGPT is able to bridge the data gaps, but at the end of the day, you need to have clean and reliable data. And that is all only done by data governance and quality assurance. So that's on us. And then the human AI collaboration, of course, we understand there's a limitation to AI. We talked about a few limitations today. It will get you to that 80%. To get to 100, you still need to have the human involved. Now, enablement support, wherever it doesn't, regardless of how many AIs we deploy, it's unlikely that will replace all humans, right? And every time there's a human involved, we need to focus on training and we need to coach them. And this is some of the things that we will still need to do, even if we include AI. And of course, this is all continuous learning and adaptation. We're just the beginning of this, and we need to continually monitor and think of new ideas and use cases that we can use AI.
Look at there's a little bit of an amplifier. There's a little bit of a function that I want people to realize so you understand where this applies. If you take on, and we take 3 simple metrics, no touch, low touch, and high touch. The discrepancy between these 3 is a 10x form of cost. So low touch is 10 times more expensive than no touch from a human element, and high touch is 10 times more expensive than low touch. And then you have advanced high touch with sales engineers and proof of concept that lasts 30, 60, 90 days. That are so. What you'll see that every time you make this jump and more people getting joined, as Roy pointed, the system gets significantly more expensive. We're currently living in a time that these costs are under extreme scrutiny as we're trying to scale up our companies and as we're trying to reestablish growth and whatnot. I want you to take that into account. I want you to think about where AI can help us the most, where costs, A, is create new opportunities, do new things. 2, where there's a high amount of cost at a relatively low amount of intelligence. SDR work is one of those unfortunate areas, but it's one of those areas where that can help. And there, where the human touch cannot cross the gap, where humans are simply not capable of doing that because they cannot process the data in real time fast enough or something like that. These are the areas where we're going to see the biggest growth the quickest. Roy, back to you.
Yeah, all right. So last 2 slides. We encourage you to keep learning and stay curious on the recent developments in revenue operation and recurring revenue businesses. I'm going to throw this out in the chat. We have 2 good videos that talks about some elements of transitioning from that classical sales approach that we all know into that more complex tools that allow us to do much more advanced things. So that's in the chat. Besides that, if you like more content like this, please sign up to our newsletter. Follow Jocko, Charlie, Winning by Design, or myself, and check out these kinds of workshops. We're doing almost 2 a week nowadays, Sari, is that right? Yeah.
May I
Yeah,
ask? May I ask the audience? Can you type in one key takeaway for all of us to share? And then Rowie, if you can drag that chat into the screen, type in one key as we wrap up. Type in one key takeaway so we can learn all from each other's key takeaways. Type in what was your key takeaway that you learned today. High quality emails will flood all inboxes, thoroughly transforming outbound email. Thank you. High quality. No need to show reasoning for lead scoring. Love that. Thank you, Jennifer. Negatively, that is okay. Yeah. Thanks, Christian. So yeah, so a few, like these takeaways I think are important. I think that a few things that I learned, and I want to also try. Thank you, Aurélien. Biggest takeaway was the prompting and expanding the universe of what I should do and can ask. Stimulated my lead scoring. Accuracy, yeah, that you still need to work. Yeah, there's so much things going on down here. I think that thank you, Abhishek. A faster ramp time, I think, is another great takeaway. Thank you all for contributing. Thank you all for attending. It's not easy in these days to get your attention and for an hour to spend time with us. So know that you are appreciated. Yeah, we really enjoyed you having here. Rowie, the recording will be shared, I assume.
Yep, of course. And also
screenshots can be shared on LinkedIn as usual. Rowie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Thank you for doing this. I want to send a really warm thank you for Charlie, who prepared all the demos and the prompt. Charlie, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Okay, with that said, we'll switch off the recording so I can play the music.